The end of World War II was not the end of the global conflict. It was the beginning of the Cold War. As the Soviet and Allied forces converged on the crumbling Third Reich, a new, desperate race began. The race for Nazi technology and the scientists who created it. The U.S. military understood the horrifying truth. German engineering, particularly in rocketry and aerospace, was years ahead of the rest of the world. The biggest prize was Wernher von Braun, the genius behind the terrifying V-2 rocket, the world's first successful ballistic missile that rained terror down on London. The official American mission, codenamed Operation Overcast, was later renamed Operation Paperclip. The goal was simple, yet morally bankrupt: smuggle nearly 1,600 German scientists, engineers, and technicians out of Europe and bring them to the United States to ensure their knowledge didn't fall into Soviet hands. This decision immediately compromised the moral high ground the Allies had fought and died for. The biggest problem wasn't logistics. It was ethics. Many of these scientists, including von Braun's top lieutenants, were not mere technicians. They were active members of the Nazi Party, the SA or the SS. Worse, their projects, particularly the V-2 program, were directly responsible for the deaths of thousands of slave laborers at the Mittelwerk concentration camp. The U.S. government knew this, to bypass President Truman's explicit order that no active Nazi Party members be recruited. The Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, JIOA, began a systematic mass cover-up. Files were literally rewritten. References to Nazi affiliations, SS ties, and slave labor connections were removed or sanitized by simply attaching a paperclip, hence the name, to new, fabricated dossiers. The government engaged in a profound act of moral corruption. They were not simply forgiving war crimes. They were actively importing individuals responsible for atrocities and making them the architects of America's future space and defense programs. The transplanted Nazi scientists immediately began working for the U.S. military. Wernher von Braun became the most famous face of this operation. He was instrumental in developing the U.S. military's first ballistic missiles and, more famously, became the key figure at NASA. Von Braun, the former SS officer whose V-2 rockets killed thousands, was the chief architect of the Saturn V rocket, the machine that took the first Americans to the moon. This achievement, celebrated globally as a triumph of freedom and democracy, was built directly on the technological foundation laid in a slave labor camp. Operation Paperclip was a staggering success in technological terms, handing the U.S. a decisive early advantage in the Cold War and the space race. But the success came at a cost that is still debated today. Did the scientific gain justify the profound moral sacrifice? The ultimate, uncut truth of Operation Paperclip is that it permanently complicated the moral narrative of World War II. The architects of America's defense and space programs were, in many cases, former enemy combatants who benefited directly from the U.S. fear of the Soviet Union. The legacy forced a chilling recognition. In the cold, brutal calculus of geopolitical survival, technological superiority sometimes outweighs human justice. The story of Paperclip is a testament to the fact that the line between hero and villain, victor and war criminal often disappears entirely in the desperate scramble of a global arms race. This has been War Stories Uncut. Subscribe now and hit the bell.